All right. Hopefully, you all can see these slides as well.
Right.
All right. Thanks. So thanks everyone. Thanks for joining this demo. In this demo, we are going to cover Palo Alto. Okay. So in this demo, we are going to understand what is Palo Alto and why it is important. Okay. To learn that. Okay. And why this Palo Alto technology is very famous. Okay. So if I talk about, Palo Alto, I hope you are already aware about that. This is a particular firewall. Okay. So for this particular firewall, there are some certification available. So if you want to learn this firewall, so you can go for the certification as well. And the certification which is offered by Palo Alto, that is a PCCSA, PCNSA, and PCNSC. So these are the three certification which is very famous, and that is offered by Palo Alto. So in our course, that what we will offer you, in our course, we are going to cover PCNSA and PCNSE both over here. Okay, and once you appear for the course, so we are going to cover that how you can build your own lab, and how you can configure the Palo Alto firewall, and how you can do the practical. So everything we are going over here to do the hands-on. Okay, on all the labs which is available in the Palo Alto. So definitely we will do the hands-on on all those things. But yes, if you want to prove yourself in the industry, and if they are asking for the certification, so after appearing this course, you can go for the PCNSE or PCNSE certification exam. Okay, so exam is basically for 90 minutes. Okay, and the passing score is again that is 70% for that exam. And if you are a security administrator, so definitely you can go for all these exams. Okay, meanwhile, if you find any question, you can post on the chat, or you can ask me directly by unmuting yourself, right? Now I would talk about the next things, why we should go for the Palo Alto firewall. So this Palo Alto firewall is a market leader nowadays, and this is next generation firewall. So if I talk about next generation firewall, so next generation firewall is providing multiple feature. Apart from firewall, it is providing all different feature. So one feature of this next generation firewall is to work on the application layer to identify the application. Instead of identifying the port number, it would be also able to identify the application. So that means if you are passing any traffic through the firewall, right? So it is capable enough to identify the traffic type, whether this traffic belongs to which application. So if you are generating the traffic, let's say using Zoom or Facebook, okay, so it would be able to identify this is a Zoom traffic or this is a Facebook traffic. However, all the traffic would go for on 443 number port, right? The Zoom and Facebook traffic, but still firewall is able to identify that. How it is identifying? This is identifying using the application ID, which is, which is able to identify a signature of a particular application, and based on that, it is able to identify that this traffic is for Facebook or Zoom. So that is one of the feature of next generation firewall. Next generation firewall have other feature as well. What is the other feature in the next generation firewall? Can you guess? So other feature is app ID is the one feature in next generation firewall you are going to get. Other thing, you are going to get sandboxing. So in Palo Alto firewall, yes, we have the sandboxing, which is known as a wildfire. So that is another feature, which is sandboxing, which is known as a wildfire, right? So for wildfire, if there is a any file which is, let's say, not scanned by the antivirus or by threat system, so that file would go to the sandbox, that is means wildfire. Over there, that file get extracted, and your wildfire is going to identify whether that file is doing any malicious impact over the network or not. Okay, so this is basically the feature sandboxing to prevent zero-day attack. Zero-day attack. So when I say zero-day attack, that means the attacks, I mean the attack which is happening over the network, and for those attacks there is no signature available in the market. So to prevent these kind of attack, we have the sandboxing or wildfire feature. Okay, using this, what happen if there is any file that firewall does not know about that file, there is signature, the signature is not available there. So what firewall does, basically the firewall send that file to the wildfire, and over the wildfire that file is going to be extracted, and wildfire is going to note the behavior of that file, whether this is going to do any malicious impact over the network or not. And based on that is going to take the decision that whether that file need to be allowed or file need to be logged. So these are the main feature you would find in the next generation firewall, and other for next generation firewall. Apart from those next generation firewall feature, you are going to find a URL filtering feature, antivirus feature, etc. But app ID and sandboxing, you can say this is a next generation firewall feature. Okay, the firewall, Palo Alto firewall, you can manage from the central location. Like you have a 3-4 firewall and you just want to manage them individually. Okay, so you can manage them individually, or if you just want to manage those 3-4 firewall from one location, okay, which is central management device, Panorama, you can manage all these firewall from single location. So let's say you have one firewall in India, another firewall in US, another firewall in UK. And if you want to manage all these firewall from same location, you can manage through Panorama. So that is the feature it is providing. It is also providing SP3 architecture, okay, which is making this firewall is really very fast. So it is able to it is able to process the packet parallelly with the different module, okay, and which is making this firewall very fast. Also, in this firewall, your management, okay, and your data plane, management plane and data plane, both are separate. Okay, so if this is separate, that means the CPU of management plane and memory of the management plane is separate, and the CPU and memory of data plane is very separate. Okay, so what is happening, if there is any packet being processed by data plane, that is not going to affect management plane, and if there is any issue on the management plane, that is not going to affect your data plane. So data plane, which is actually for processing the firewall traffic, and through management plane, you are going to apply policy, you are going to see the logs, etc. Okay, so if there is any reason due to which data plane get overutilized, okay, still you will be able to see the policy, see the logs. And in any case, if your management plane is going to be overutilized, so still your data plane is going to work. Okay, so here they segregated management plane and data plane. You can use this firewall on premises, and you can use this firewall on cloud as well. And also using this firewall, you can collect the central logs. That means all these firewall can send logs to the Panorama and can be managed through centrally. So this is why Palo Alto is used in any organization nowadays, because it is providing great features. Okay, moving to next. Palo Alto firewall is a firewall leader nowadays, you can see. And this is a traditional architecture, traditional firewall architecture. And if you see, this is a latest firewall. I mean, this is Palo Alto firewall architecture. So I'm going to compare both architecture, that what is on traditional architecture and what is on this Palo Alto. So this is Palo Alto architecture. You can see that whenever any packet is coming, it is going to process parallelly. Okay. So for example, this is SP3 architecture. You can see over here. In SP3 architecture, what is happening? If there is any packet come to the firewall, parallelly it is going to process by different engine. So we have app ID, user ID, content ID, and networking. All that packet would be processed parallelly, okay, in a single go. That is a single pass architecture. And to process that single pass architecture, we have the hardware as well. So these are parallel processing hardware. Okay. So when any packet hits on the Palo Alto firewall, that would go on different module in a single go. Okay. And to process that packet, we have the parallel processing hardware, right? So all the packet would be processed by parallelly. So that's why this is known as a SP3, single pass parallel processing architecture. As you can see, single pass software perform operation once per packet. I mean, networking function, policy lookup, application identification. This would be performed once in all the packet. Okay. And to process this, we have parallel processing hardware. All these hardware can control through control plane or management plane. Okay. So this is SP3 architecture. And before this, if I talk about traditional firewall architecture, so you can see over here, this is a traditional firewall architecture. This is the traditional firewall architecture. What is happening over here? Whenever any packets comes, the firewall do layer 2 and layer 3 lookup, and then it is processed by the firewall policy. If you have enabled URL filtering, again, same thing is happening. Layer 2 and layer 3 lookup would again be happening. And here it is going to the URL filtering. And if you have enabled any IPS module, the same things is going to repeat again and again. So this is known as the multi-pass architecture, which has been eliminated on the Palo Alto, right? Palo Alto has only single pass architecture, single pass parallel processing architecture. And this is why this firewall is very fast. Now I'm moving to next. I would talk about that basic level of packet flow. So if there is any, this is your Palo Alto firewall, let's say. And if you are sending the traffic from inbound interface to outbound interface, then how it is processing the traffic? First, once a firewall is received the packet, it is doing initial packet processing. Okay. In initial packet processing, what it is doing, it is doing source zone lookup, policy based forwarding it is doing, and then it is checking the destination zone, and then finally it is doing the net evaluation policy. Once your packet pass by all these things, okay, it would go to security pre-policy checkup where it is going to check whether the port is allowed or not. If port is allowed, session is going to be created. After that, it is going to go for the application lookup over here. And here it is, if the packet is encrypted, so it is doing the decryption and going to check what traffic is generated by which application. Okay, so based on the application, it is going to identify the application. And after that, it is go for the security policy checkup, where it is going to check what all the security policy allowed, applied, whether antivirus is applied or whether IPS policy is applied, whether file filtering policy is applied. So all that check happens over here. And once your traffic pass by this module, the packet would go for post policy processing. Here it is going to re-encrypt the traffic if the packet has been decrypted. So re-encryption would happen over here. Finally, NAT is going to apply over here, and the packet would be forwarded to the destination. So this process would happen once your packet go to inbound interface, and then post this processing, your packet would go for the outbound interface. Okay. Any questions so far, guys? All right. So if there is no question, let's move to lab part. Okay. What we are going to do. Let's see the lab. So let me just open the lab over here. So if you want to access our lab, you can access our lab by typing labs.netminion.net. And you can click over here to get the access of lab. You can put your credential. And you can access lab. Let me close this and open Palo Alto lab. Okay, so this is the lab, and you can see, let me just power on all these devices. Okay, so this is the lab, guys. Okay, this lab you can access 24/7 on any network. Okay, because this is educational website, and I hope educational website is always open in your corporate network as well, or you can access this at anywhere. Okay. So this is very simple lab. You can see over here. To access the lab is very simple. You can power on, power off device as per your requirement. Whenever you just want to do the lab, your lab would be up. And whenever you just want to shut down the lab, your lab would be down. It's up to you. Okay. So these are the devices you can see. We have two Palo Alto firewall over here that is connected to this central switch. You can access this firewall through this workstation. Okay. And you can, I mean, this is further connected to the internet. You can see over here. So it's further connected to internet. So you can do all the practice regarding, any internet related traffic. For example, if you want to do URL filtering or VPN, etc., you can do that. Okay. So VPN you can create in between firewall, or a VPN you can create in between firewall and third-party device, maybe router you can use over here. Okay. So in this lab, as you can see, we have management interface to the Palo Alto firewall and rest other interface. So some of the interface you can use as a management, some of the interface you can use for the internal traffic, one interface you can use for external, okay, and some of the interface you can use for the DMZ. So this kind of things you can do, okay. If you want to assign IP address to the management interface, you can just double click on this particular firewall, and so this firewall is going to be open, and you can assign the IP address to the management interface, right? So let me just go, let me show you that what all the configuration you can do on this particular firewall. So basically, if you access the firewall, if you want to access the console, click on the firewall itself and you can access the console, right? It's getting up right now. So in this way, you can directly access the console of the firewall. Or if you want to access any system, you can just click on that system and it is going to be opened over here. If you want to access router, you can access in that way only. You can access router, you can access other system, and you can access your firewall. So I'm trying to access the firewall and would run some basic commands over here. because this is first time. So we have to set up the management interface. Okay. And post setting the management interface, we can set up other interface and try to send the traffic from one PC to another system via Palo Alto firewall. Let me just try to do that. Meanwhile, lab is getting up. You can ask the question or query if you have over the call itself.
Amar, maybe you can, till the lab is getting up, you can tell like what is the duration, when the course would be, it would be the weekend course. So probably you can just explain about those points.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So if I talk about course duration, so it is around 24 hours to 30 hours. Usually it takes 1 month weekend classes. Okay, so 4 hour on per weekend. Okay, we are going to cover. So in 4 weekend we cover all the courses. I mean all this Palo Alto course. So that's the duration. Okay, so we have weekend classes available, and in sometimes we also running weekdays classes. Usually we have weekend. So yes, so classes can be covered on the weekend, and that's a 1 month duration.
Amar, this is Rajesh here. I have one query for you. So what you can come, what you can explain in this course? Like this would be a basic course or it would be advanced course?
No, this is advanced course. As I told that PCNSA and PCNSE both we are going to cover. So we are going to start with basic, but going up to advanced level.
So within 1 month, like within 24 or 26 hours, you can complete all the sessions.
Yes, usually we do that, but if your sometimes session get extended, I mean 2 session. Okay, so 1 to 1 month to 1.5 month, it is right. So sometimes if your pace is not good, I mean the people who attend the class pace is not good, so sometimes this get extended. So within 1.5 month we used to cover all these things. So it's not hard coded that within 1 month we are going to finish whether your course finish or not. No, this is not like that. We used to finish the course with the proper knowledge actually. So once you get the proper knowledge, then we are going to finish it.
I have one query here also. The packet flow which you explain now, that is the way you are explaining the packet flow, because we have another diagram which I've seen in
Yeah. I mean, we have a 2 packet diagram. I have shown you the block diagram where I have explained the packet flow. But later we are going to use this packet flow diagram. Let me just show you.
So when this session going to start? When this course will going to start?
I think we are going to start on next weekend. From next weekend, we are going to start this.
Okay.
Just try to log in. So default username and password for Palo Alto is admin. Okay. And you can change the password as per your requirement. And if you want to configure anything in Palo Alto, you need to go to configure mode. Okay. Here you can configure the interface ID, host name, whatever you just want to configure. So I'm just going to configure management interface. Okay. So I would run the command set device config system type static, because I just want to define a static IP address, and then I would run the command set device config system, and now I just want to define IP address. So I would put IP dash address and then IP address. So I'm putting 10.0.0.1, and the net mask I'm putting 255.255.255.0. And now I can commit this, and post committing I can access this firewall through my workstation. So I need to make sure that the Palo Alto management interface and my workstation IP should be belongs to same network so that I can access it. So let me just check if we have the IP assigned over here. So we have 2 interfaces. none of the IP assigned, so I'm going to assign it over here. 10.0.0.10 I'm assigning over here, and subnet mask. And now I can access my firewall from here. So in Palo Alto, most of the recommendation is use GUI for the configuration. So if you are doing any configuration, use GUI. And if you are doing troubleshooting, so use CLI. Okay. Most of the troubleshooting you can do via CLI. And advanced level troubleshooting would happen through CLI only, right? Like for example, if you are doing VPN type of troubleshooting, usually you would see in organization, VPN issue you would see, IPS issue you are going to see, firewall issue you are going to see, all these kind of issue you are going to see, right? So for these, I would recommend go for CLI, and for configuration, use GUI. So I'm going to access my firewall over here using HTTPS 10.0.0.1. Now I can access my firewall over here, and this is a fresh firewall right now. So let me try to log in. Okay, so now you can see over here that this is a firewall dashboard, okay, where you can see the basic information about the firewall. What is the device name? You can see over here. You can change it if you want. What is the device management IP? You can see over here. What is the management net mask? You can see. What is the model? So right now this is a PAVM, okay. What is the MAC address of this device? What is CPU ID? Whether this is licensed, okay, where it is running, what is the software version 9.0.1. This is right now, this is a PAN OS, that is a firewall operating system 9.0.1. Okay, and then we have other information as well. For example, if you want to see the utilization of CPU, so you can see the utilization of CPU, management CPU, data plane CPU, number of session you can see. Here some system log you can see. So if there are any critical logs, you can see from here itself who has already logged in. You can see which mode you can see over here. This admin user has logged in from this particular PC using web, and also through CLI it has login using local console. Okay, so you can see over here. You can see this is a monitor tab. Over here you can do the troubleshooting. For example, if you want to see any logs, you can see over here. Okay, right now none of the log is going over here, but at least system log you would be able to see. So if you click on system log, you can see over here, and here are the CVRT. If you want to filter anything, for example, if you just want to see high level logs, you can click on high, and that filter would be here, and you just click on enter, and you would see all the high logs over here. Okay, so you can do in this way, logs etc. You can see the monitor tab. Firewall policy, if you want to create, you can create using policy tab. So this is a firewall policy. There are other policy you can create. For example, NAT related policy you can create, QS related traffic policy you can create, any special PBR if you want to create, policy based forwarding, basically that's policy based routing in Cisco world. So you can create from here. Okay, any kind of decryption you want to configure, you can configure using this tab. So this policy tab is to configure all different types of policy. Security policy is a basic policy. That means that's a firewall policy. That's a basic policy you have to create. If you want to make sure that the traffic should pass through the firewall, then security policy you need to create. When you click on add this firewall rule, So here in general tab, it would be asking for the firewall rule name. Then source you can define. In source, you have to define source zone and source IP. And then user, if you want to define, you can define user as well, who can access this or who cannot access this rule that you can define. And then we have the destination. So here you can define the destination zone and destination IP. And I was talking about application ID, right? So application ID you can define from here. We have different types of application, okay? You can see all these type of application we have. So standard application, if you talk about any particular application, for example, SSH. So for SSH, let's see, we have any application. We must have the application for SSH. You can see this is the SSH application, right? So instead of allowing the SSH port, you can allow the application over here. What is the benefit you would get? The benefit you would get that it would be able to identify that the traffic is generated by SSH only, or traffic is just generated by using any test tool. Like you can use the telnet as well for testing kind of things. So until the traffic is completely matched to SSH, the firewall is not going to allow anything, right? So it is really important that traffic should match to SSH fingerprint. Okay, if you doesn't know any application and you want to go with the traditional, so you can make any over here and you can use a port number, service or port number you can use over here. So here you can click and you can add the port number if you want. Okay, but port number nowadays we are rarely using. Okay, if we are using the next generation firewall, we are rarely using this. And then you can define the action where you can allow or deny the traffic. So that's what the firewall rule is. And then we have object. So as you know that in firewall, everything you can create as an object. For example, any IP address, you can create an object. So for example, let's say I just want to create any object for my management PC. So I can type here mgmt _ PC. And then I can say it's IP address. So simple IP address, I just want to define 10.10.0.0.10. Let's say, and I clicked on OK. So now management PC IP has been defined over here. You can see. And this object I can call under the policy. Okay, so I can click on add. And let's say I just want to call that object under the policy. I can click on source. And you can see here, if I click on add, you can see that is the object management PC I can use over here. So that's the use of object tab. So I can create the object of IP address, group of the addresses we can create, region, application, service. Service is basically nothing but this is a port number. So you can create object for port number as well. Then further we have network tab, sorry, network tab. And in this tab, we can define the interfaces IP. So if you want to define interfaces, you can define interfaces. You can create a zone, you can create a VLANs, you can create a virtual wire, virtual router. Don't worry, we are going to cover all these things in the course. In very detail, we are going to cover all these things. But yes, we can do that. And then we can use a device tab where we can configure this Palo Alto device. For example, I just want to change the host name. I can change the host name of this device using this management option. Okay. I just want to define any login banner. I can do that. So whenever you deploy a new firewall, what are the mandatory settings you have to do? In the general tab itself, you have, sorry, in the device tab itself, a general setting you have to do. For example, as you put the firewall in the network, okay, first you need to put the host name, domain name, login banner, etc. Okay, and by which panorama device it should be managed. So panorama device you are going to define over here. Okay, so here you are going to get a lot of things. Okay, and we will also cover high availability in this course. So high availability HA you can configure from here. Okay. Username administrator, if you right now you can see right now I have just one user who is accessing this, but you want to create multiple administrator, you can do that. Okay, you would want to define admin role, that which admin can do what, so you can define from here. Any kind of authentication you can do from here. So these are the tabs where you can do settings of your Palo Alto firewall. Right? Any questions so far? No? All right, so what I'm just trying to do, I would just show the basic things of the packet flow over here. Packet flow means I'm just going to create one simple scenario where I can transfer the packet. So what I'm going to do, I would try to send the packet from here to this router. So this router, I would consider that this router is outside router. And in this workstation, we have two interfaces. So one interface I have defined for MGMT management, and the other interface I'm defining internal. So for internal interface, I'm just going to find this IP 192.168.2.10/24. And for firewall, this interface, I'm just going to assign the IP 192.168.2.1/24. And this would be, I'm going to consider this is external. So for this external, I would assign this IP 100.0.0.1. And this is, let's say, external router, outside router. So I'm going to assign IP to this router, 100.0.0.10. Now what I would do from here, I would try to ping this router, okay? And my traffic would go via this way. First, it is hitting to my Palo Alto firewall. And then using the another interface, it is going to this. For that, what we need to do, first we need to configure the interface of router, interface of the firewall. Then we need to configure policy, okay? And once the interface and policy has been configured, then we can initiate the traffic from here to here. So that's what I'm trying to do. So let me just configure the interface. So I have already, I have already the access of firewall. You can see here, I have already the access of the firewall, and I'm going to assign IP to the interface. So I would accessing this 1/1. So I'm just going to define this as a layer 3, because once you have a layer 3, then you can assign the IP address. And then I'm going to put this interface into the default virtual router. And zone I'm putting as a internal. This is the name of zone. And now I would assign IP address to this firewall interface. So IP address to this firewall interface is 192.168.2.1/24. And now I can click on OK. Define another interface. This one. This is layer 3. And virtual router. Zone I'm putting external. And now I can define the IP address. After putting this, I'm just going to create a policy over here where I'm allowing the traffic from internal to external. So allow _internal to external. I'm allowing which traffic? Ping only. Source, I'm putting source zone as an internal. Any IP of the source would be able to access external destination. That's what I just want. However, in real scenario, we're not going to allow any, but I have allowed source if source is internal and destination is external zone, and application is ping application. Then traffic should be allowed. Action I'm putting here as a allow. You can see here. And now I can click OK. And in Palo Alto, if you want to make that this policy should be effective, you need to click on commit. Then it would be effective. Okay. So let's commit this. And now I would try to generate the traffic from, as I told, from this PC to that router. So on router itself, we have to define IP. So let's access router and define some IP to this router. In this case, let's assign IP address 100.0.0.10. Subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. No shut. And I need to define route as well. So IP route 100.0.0.1, or I can say that if this router want to access anything, it should go via Palo Alto firewall. Palo Alto firewall IP is 100.0.0.1. Let me save this, and I can go to workstation and I can assign the IP address to this workstation as well. So I'm assigning the another interface IP address, which is not a management, but internal interface 192.168.2.10, and putting the subnet mask over here, and then putting 192.168.2.1. That's it. And if I try to generate the traffic from Palo Alto firewall, this PC to the router, external router. So let me just try to do that. Ping icon 100.0.0.10. That is the IP of your router. So you can see now the traffic is going. Okay, but how you can ensure that this traffic is going via Palo Alto firewall? So as I told you that you can use the logs over here. So if you go on the monitor and go to session browser, at least you can see the session which is making through the Palo Alto firewall. So you can see this session. If I open any particular session, sorry, let's open it. You can see here. The session ID is 18 and source is this, destination is this IP, right? And you can see that this traffic is allowed basically. So this is source to destination and this is the return traffic. That means outgoing is already allowed and the return traffic is also allowed. Client, okay, this is client to server and this is server to client. This is source to destination and this is reply. So who is replying? This router is replying. How you can confirm that? Debug IP ICMP. You can run this command on the router and you would be able to see that to whom this router is replying. 192.168.2.10. That's the IP of your workstation. So overall, as I mentioned earlier, that now your traffic is going through this workstation to the Palo Alto firewall to the router. What if I disable that rule, which was allowing the traffic? I can disable that rule. So if I just want to control the flow, I would go on the policy and disable this policy. Let's say I disable. Okay, so this has been disabled, but let's see what is happening. Whether packet is still going. It's still going. Can you guess the reason? As I told you, to make anything effective, whatever the changes you would do, those changes you have to commit. So I disabled this, but I didn't commit. So we need to commit it. So let's commit this. And once this would be committed completely, the firewall is going to stop the packet. You can see now it is showing request timeout. That means there is no rule on the Palo Alto firewall to allow this traffic. Okay, so that's the things. You can control the traffic flow. Right now we talk about the traffic flow, but yes, if there is any virus, etc., that also Palo Alto can protect against that. If there is any malicious traffic, right now we are just using the firewall. Okay, firewall and app ID feature. But if there is any malicious traffic, that's also we can do. For that, we have to create what? We have to create a security profile. So we have different type of security profile, antivirus, anti-spyware. These are the different profiles. These all things we are going to cover into the course. For demo, I would just like to stop over here, and now we are open for the question and answer. If you have any question, you can ask regarding the course or anything related to this. Anybody? All right, if there is no question, so let me just stop over here. Radhe, you just want to add anything?